And now the question remains, since he's voluntarily, we haven't even mentioned that yet, but Vince, then one of the pieces of business was that Vince has voluntarily stepped down from his position as CEO of the WWE while this investigation is going on. Well, if they already know there was an NDA and they already know that Vince paid his own money and they already know that he was fucking around with the employees, and Laurinaitis better start reading the help wanted ads because he ain't got anywhere near protection that Vince has. But when they already know that this thing has happened, and the fact that Vince said, well, it was my own money, and Jerry McDevitt said the relationship was consensual, so they're not denying it happened. So
but when you end a consensual relationship, I don't know about you, but I've had fights over who gets the DVD player, let alone I'll give you $3 million to just leave.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but they haven't denied that he knows this woman, that they had a relationship. McDevitt didn't deny that Laurinaitis and this woman had a relationship. One would think if that was bullshit, he would have thrown that in. So this is not being, it's like, would you fuck me for $1 million? Yes. Would you fuck me for $1? No. What do you think I am? Well, we've already established that. We're just haggling over price. We've already established that Laurinaitis and Vince both did these things. The question is whether they were of sufficient illegality or against the rules of Hoyle to cause Vince to be kicked out of his own company, in which case all of the stockholders and everybody else are going to have a rude awakening because they're going to lose a lot more money than if he was just dipping his fucking pen in company ink, as they say.
Well, I have a few things here for you, Jim. One.
Well, I've got a couple of things for you, too.
Well, thank you very much. WWE got in touch with talent, and they issued a message saying that the Wall Street Journal has published a report about WWE with allegations that we and our board of directors take seriously. We are cooperating fully with the investigation. In the meantime, it's business as usual. Vince will be at TV this Friday. And here is the official statement from WWE's board of directors. Stamford, Connecticut, June 17th, 2022. WWE and its board of directors jointly released the following statement today. Independent directors continue review of alleged executive misconduct. Stephanie McMahon, named interim CEO and interim chairwoman. WWE and the board of directors today announced that a special committee of the board is conducting an investigation into alleged misconduct by Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, head of talent relations, and that, effective immediately, McMahon has voluntarily stepped back from his responsibilities as CEO and chairman of the board until the conclusion of the investigation. McMahon will retain his role and responsibilities related to WWE's creative content during this period and remains committed to cooperating with the review underway. And one other thing related to Vince here that is interesting, and I think you should hear. Here's a quote attributed to Vince. I have pledged my complete cooperation to the investigation by the special committee, and I'll do everything possible to support the investigation. I have also pledged to accept the findings and outcome of the investigation, whatever they are.
Vince McMahon didn't write that. I've never heard him say I've pledged my full cooperation to and he's never been willing to accept the findings, whatever they may be, if they're against the findings that he wanted to found. But so, again, Stephanie, we talked about that earlier when she stepped away. She knew what was going on. But now at least that will placate. The stock is down right now as we talk, $3 or $4 a share. That will placate people from having a complete meltdown over that there's no McMahon running the WWE for the first time in history. And she's the one that's most experienced with that. But at some point, there is going to be And we've talked about this. If anything happened to Vince, if he actually did pass on or got hit by a truck or whatever, there'd be incredible double knockouts in the office over who was going to be in charge and who was going to run this and that and the other thing. And they've got a lot of qualified and competent people in various places, but the WWE, for good, bad, or indifferent, that company, whether we're not just talking about creative, that company entirely has never existed without Vince calling every single shot. And I don't know what it'll look like if he's not. And I mean, we haven't been fans of his booking lately, but he does a lot of other things that keep a company running that are obviously over and above Tony Khan's head and everybody else in the wrestling business's head, because he's done this for so long at such a level. Go ahead.
With what you said before, what do you think is going to placate the shareholders more? Stephanie being the replacement as interim CEO and chairwoman, or Vince running creative?
Well, and that's something else that they have to, to say, because they have their own narrative. The company's own narrative is that the straw that stirs the drink, the thing that makes this whole thing run, is Vince McMahon's incredible and innate mastery of the wrestling business and how he makes stars. And that used to be in a lot of cases true, and it hadn't been for a while, but the average jack-off on the street doesn't know that. Only the people who follow wrestling religiously and vociferously know that. So he can't still be the CEO of the company because he's under investigation. McMahon has been appointed to be the CEO, and she's got some experience, but nobody wants to admit that Vince wouldn't be in charge of the creative team going forward, because that might tank the stock price.
But here's the other thing. If he's going to be just going to TV as usual every week, what's his actual title? If he's not the active CEO and chairman.
His title is he's the fucking boss, and everybody's still going to do what he says, and not a single soul is going to say, no, Vince, I can't do that without checking with Stephanie, because it's fucking Vince. And it's what they've told the board of directors and all the people writing about this. It's going to happen. But Vince is going to do the same things that Vince has always been doing. And do you think that Stephanie's going to say, no, Pop, I really don't think we ought to open that satellite office in Brazil that you want to open. I'm going to overrule you on that one.
That would be the greatest thing ever if she removes him from creative. That would be the greatest thing of all time.
The WWE has announced they wish Vince McMahon well in his future endeavors.
And make her a babyface forever. Replaced by Triple H.
Well, and what timing they could have gone to Triple H without the heart problem. And now he's, like, fuck, this could have been my chance. The ticker didn't make it.
Well, on the other hand, maybe he's thinking, thank God I'm not there. Thank God I'm not a part of this. I wouldn't get any sleep.
he to get that spot where he's running the whole thing, he would do the work. Triple H, Paul Levesque, has never been afraid of shying away from working to get where he wants, the social climbing thing that he is. But so now they got nobody. Triple H is on the sidelines. Vince is almost 80 and out, potentially for good, because of this thing that they know that he did. And how many other of these things did he do? They're checking into that. Laurinaitis, I hope he's already cleaned his desk out. They may not ask him to come back by Monday, because he's got no familial protection, or he's not, the stockholders don't care if he drops over or bursts into flames. So he's fucked. Stephanie may be the only one that comes out of this better. She may get the job permanently just for lack of other contenders.
What's to stop Vince if he doesn't like the findings of the board from announcing he wants to take WWE private again? And he finds some bank to finance him.
I don't know that it, well, what does he still own? 80-something% of it?
Of the voting share. I got to actually see what he has.
How does all that work? I know that they took money from people and gave them, the people that gave them money, as little as possible in return for it, but I don't know what all the rules are.
Well, I do have something here that's interesting, and then we'll talk a little bit about Stephanie. But Brandon Thurston, at Brandon Thurston on Twitter, he is always doing great research and great stuff on what's happening in wrestling. Here is the actual employment agreement of Vince McMahon the conditions under which the company or the board of directors could terminate him. The company may terminate the executive's employment under this agreement at any time, with or without cause, as defined below. For purposes of this agreement, the company shall have cause to terminate the executive's employment under this agreement by reason of any of the following, which is materially and demonstrably injurious to the interest, property, operations, business, or reputation of the company or its affiliates. Here are the firing clauses. A, the executive's theft or embezzlement, or attempted theft or embezzlement, of money or property of the company or its affiliates. B, the executive's intentional perpetration or attempted perpetration of fraud or participation in a fraud or attempted fraud on the company or its affiliates. C, the executive's willful and intentional material misconduct in performance of his duties or gross negligence of his duties other than due to the executive's disability, including an intentional failure to follow any applicable company policies or directives. That might be something where they get them.
You think they've written it down somewhere you're not allowed to fuck the paralegals?
And pay them off with your own personal money when you give them a raise with company money? But here's D, the executive's conviction of or plea of guilty to a misdemeanor involving moral turpitude or any felony.
Ah, the turpitude clause.
And E, the executive's willful and intentional material breach of this agreement, including the restrictive covenants set forth in Section 8 for purposes of this. Section 5, I'm trying to see if there's anything else here that relates to this. That really seems to sum it up. Those are the ways they could fire Vince McMahon.
And it's clearly and plainly written right out there in language that everybody can understand and words that most people can pronounce.